What does it take to break a man's pride in a single moment? The morning air in downtown Atlanta was thick with the hum of traffic and the scent of fresh coffee from street vendors. Maya Carter, a woman with a quiet strength carved from years of resilience, walked briskly toward the courthouse. Her white blouse was crisp, her briefcase heavy with documents she'd spent months preparing. At 34, she carried herself with the grace of someone who knew her worth, her dark eyes sharp with purpose. Today was her day to make a difference. She didn't see the officer until it was too late. Officer Daniel Hargrove, a 20-year veteran of the force, stood leaning against his patrol car, sipping coffee with a smirk that spelled trouble. His eyes locked on Maya as she approached, and something in his gaze twisted cold, dismissive, laced with a prejudice he didn't bother to hide. As she passed, he muttered something under his breath, too low for her to catch, and then, with a flick of his wrist, he tossed his coffee at her. The hot liquid splashed across her blouse, soaking through to her skin. She gasped, stopping dead in her tracks. The street seemed to hold its breath. Passers-by froze, some pulling out phones to record. Hargrove chuckled, expecting her to cower, to scurry away in humiliation. But Maya didn't move. She straightened, her jaw tight, and turned to face him. "You think that's funny?" she asked, her voice low but steady, cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. Hargrove's smirk faltered. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone like her. "Keep walking," he snapped, stepping closer, his hand resting on his holster. The threat was clear, but Maya didn't flinch. Instead, she set her briefcase down, her movements deliberate, and reached into her pocket. The crowd tensed, expecting a confrontation. Hargrove's eyes narrowed, his fingers twitching. But then, a new figure emerged from the crowd-in older black man, gray hair peeking under a worn baseball cap, his face etched with quiet dignity. "Officer, you don't know who you're messing with," he said, his voice calm but heavy with warning. Hargrove scoffed, dismissing him as some meddling bystander. "Mind your business, old man," he barked. The man didn't budge. He looked at Maya, a flicker of pride in his eyes, and nodded. Maya pulled out her ID, holding it up for Hargrove to see. The badge gleamed under the morning sun. Federal Prosecutor, U.S. Department of Justice. Hargrove's face drained of color. His hand dropped from his holster, the empty coffee cup slipping from his grip to clatter on the pavement. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a mix of shock and vindication. You're a," Hargrove stammered, his voice cracking. Maya stepped forward, her gaze unflinching. "I'm the woman who's been investigating your precinct for months," she said, her words sharp as a blade. "Corruption, brutality, racial profiling, and you just gave me everything I need to bury you." The old man from the crowd spoke again, softer this time. "That's my daughter," he said, his voice breaking with emotion. "She's been fighting men like you her whole life." The revelation hit Hargrove like a second blow. This wasn't just a random act caught on camera, it was personal, and it was public. Phones were still rolling, capturing every second of his unraveling. Maya's voice softened, but not her resolve. "You thought you could break me with a cup of coffee? You don't know what I've survived." She gestured to the crowd, to the city around them. "This isn't just about you and me. It's about every person you've hurt, every life you've dismissed. And I'm here to make sure you answer for it." Hargrove's career flashed before his eyes, 20 years of unchecked power, now crumbling under the weight of one moment. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. The crowd closed in, their voices rising, demanding justice. Maya picked up her briefcase, her stained blouse a badge of her defiance, and walked toward the courthouse. The old man, her father, fell into step beside her, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. As she disappeared into the building, Hargrove stood alone, the weight of his actions pressing down on him. He'd thrown coffee to assert his power, but all he'd done was expose his weakness. Maya's fight wasn't just for herself, it was for every person who'd ever been judged, dismissed, or dehumanized. And she wasn't done fighting. In the courthouse, Maya paused, her father's words echoing in her mind. "You're stronger than they'll ever know." She smiled faintly, then stepped into the courtroom, ready to change the world, one case at a time.